All right, team. So this video is actually going to be pretty meta. It's going to literally be a video for the community about a YouTube strategy that is also likely going to end up on YouTube, right? So pretty meta into its own right. For anybody watching that's not familiar, my name is Chris Sachinelli. I build, buy, and sell simple, profitable businesses every single day. Startup Exchange is one of those businesses, and it is a platform and community to help investpreneurs build, buy, and sell startups, right? So what we're getting into today is actually a overview of the content strategy for Startup Exchange, right? Rewind back in terms of where this came from. It popped up maybe 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago in our Venture Scout training conversations. We have them on Mondays. A Venture Scout, if you're not familiar, a Venture Scout is to startups as a real estate agent is to homes. They're the folks inside of our community that are market making, right? They're helping the buyers and the sellers find acquisition targets and work through our deal desk to get listed and do deals, right? So we were going through a training and talking about how we could potentially come across more potential buyers and or sellers, just create more opportunity in general to have better conversations with more folks that are maybe interested in getting into this game. And I had previously gone down the LinkedIn rabbit hole pretty hard. I admitted it on the call. I think that LinkedIn is such an underrated platform right now. I think that there's still a tremendous amount of opportunity to really build an audience and a following on LinkedIn. I've slept on it for a very long time. I mean, realistically, this whole space is kind of new to me. I've always been an investor, kind of like an investor operator, kind of behind the scenes. This is the first time I'm really kind of putting myself out there. So I'm definitely stepping out of my zone, comfort layer in this whole exercise with Startup Exchange. But I hope to do it for the right reasons, right? So we are really trying to promote this concept of entrepreneurship. It's a less risky approach to entrepreneurship. And we're trying to really kind of lead from the front with this and do a lot of the stuff that we're talking about doing ourselves and literally, using ourselves as live experiments to hopefully, help reduce some risk. And if there's mistakes and failures along the way, hopefully you guys get to see us do it so that you don't have to. Now, this is one of those examples. This is one of those experiments. So we're talking about how we could potentially grow our audience and have more conversations. I think that LinkedIn is a massively, potential opportunity for us in terms of a platform to build an audience with the right types of folks that are interested in building, buying, and selling, startups, build, buy, and sell companies. So the talk track started there, and it was how do we start to build, at scale for all of our scouts, a strong LinkedIn process program, right? Because we like to systematize things. Like, how do you create a system, a business system that makes it simple, repeatable, scalable, simple, right? That's where we started. After going through it a little bit and doing some research, and there's definitely a ton of folks out there that are doing some really cool things, especially in like LinkedIn content generation and demand generation strategies and things of that nature, which we're definitely going to put to work in this whole process. The other thing that came up was, what else is going to be used in our stack, right? Like, what else is going to feed our top of funnel, and what's our overall all content marketing strategy, and how does it all kind of fit together? So before jumping in and kicking off what we were going to call a 30-day challenge to go out and post every day on LinkedIn and hopefully, challenge ourselves to build a following. I believe it was going to be, originally it was 10x, but if we could just add 1,000 more followers, that's a win. So we wanted to frame it out. But before we started that, what we wanted to go back and do is review what else we could do and what our entire content strategy may end up looking like. So that's what's on the screen right now. That's like a big 5-minute backstory of where we are right now, a little bit of context, hopefully, to the story. So if you're following along, I appreciate you for that. I'm going to jump into the screen and actually talk through what it is that we think that we're going to be doing here. Open to your feedback too. So if you want to add some feedback and thought, very much so, this is a work in progress. And like I mentioned earlier, a lot of the stuff that we're trying to do in public. So if we are making mistakes, you can hopefully learn from those and avoid them. So long story short, to fast forward videotape, once we work through this content strategy and talk through it today, we're actually going to start this strategy and we're going to start to implement it. And what I would love to be able to do is follow up in 30 days and actually do a touch base and see how things went and actually give you guys like an update of this was the results, this is what we ended up doing, and this was the actual results that came from it, right? So jumping into this right here, our overall content niche is build, buy, and sell, right? So the problem that I have with that is build, buy, and sell is pretty generic. And from all of the feedback that I've gotten in the conversations with, folks in growth, that we've been able to have the privilege of speaking to, whether it's on the podcast or just through like relationships that we have, we appreciate that. And all of the feedback has been don't go generic, don't go too wide, especially when you're targeting into a content strategy in any of these social channels, especially YouTube. It seems like there's the money realistically, if you're doing this for a performance ROI of a conversion point, it seems like the money is either on either side of the outliers, right? So either like super duper entry level, these are folks that are interested but haven't really done anything yet. And these are folks that have excelled at it and they're willing to invest money to get to the next level. It seems like those two sides of the spectrum is kind of where the conversions live based off of conversations we've had. And everything in the middle is kind of, a poor ROI zone. So what we're trying to be conscious of when we're approaching this strategy is to get pretty focused, right? So I definitely want to kind of niche down, especially as we're just starting off with this content strategy. And especially since we're running this as a challenge to be able to benchmark things and hit milestones and metrics and then actually do this in public. So our primary focus in terms of what we're niching down into is acquisition rollups. I'm not going to get into what an acquisition rollup is right now because that's probably going to be one of the pieces of content that we create in the next 30 days. But that's going to be on point in terms of what we're going to be focusing on, the content that we're going to be creating. Now, when we get into the content creation, this is going to go, of course, with LinkedIn in terms of that LinkedIn strategy and the LinkedIn challenge that I was talking about earlier. But what we're trying to do is make it a little bit multifaceted, and we're trying to kill as many birds as we possibly can with one stone. We're trying to really, stack the value, especially in terms of our time, effort, energy, in terms of approaching this as a strategy. So we're going to be hitting a number of things, right? Before I jump into these bullets, what I want to do is kind of spend a little bit of time on the left side of this quadrant and talk about the life cycle of what we're trying to create. So we love the concept of like virtuous life cycles at Startup Exchange. We're trying to always build things for virtuous life cycles, or like, what other folks call maybe flywheels, or right, success begets success, right? Feeding the system in a sense. Love systematization for sure. And that's what we're hoping to be able to create with this, right? So everything starts at the top, and that starting point is definitely researching the concept itself. What we're trying to also do is optimize for engagement and traffic and interest, right? So we don't want to just like create things that we want to create within our focus. We want to actually create things that folks are interested in hearing. So we have a number of different communities that we pay attention to that are in our space, and we're going to leverage that. We're going to leverage what we've been paying attention to people asking and talking about, not only in the Startup Exchange community, but in also other communities that kind of cater to like-minded folks. We're also going to do some keyword research in terms of like what is search terms that are coming up prevalently in the space, and we're going to combine the two to kind of create our content calendar, right? And that's how we're going to be doing research to actually come up with the terms and the concepts that we're going to then put to practice. And that's what we want to then move to the next step, which the next step is going to be creating the short form content for, right? So once we have these concepts of like an ideal log of things that we want to potentially, touch on, things that we think folks would be interested in, we're going to then go ahead and create short form copy. And it's definitively copy. And this is going to be a top part of the challenge here. I'm not a great copywriter. I'll be the first person to say that. I'm not a great copywriter. I'm just not a great copywriter. I wish that was different. And I'm hoping that through this challenge, I could work towards making that change and getting better at it. Copywriting seems to be just like such a a magic wand to be able to wave, especially in this ecosystem at this moment in time. This is a great opportunity for me to practice, sharpen my axe, but also, challenge other folks too, and the scouts that are in the program, and you, if you want to follow along as a part of this, whether you're in the community or you're watching this elsewhere. But we want to create really good copy. And there's definitely a art form to creating copy. Again, I'm not going to get into this video because there's likely going to be content that we create around how to make good copy that comes from this whole content sequence, right? But we're going to create some short form copy, and that short form copy is going to initially be for LinkedIn, right? We're going to take that copy that we're writing and we're going to turn it into a lead page with an offer, right? So in the copy, we're going to be identifying a point of concern or pain. We're going to be talking through kind of like very much so hook, story, offer type of structure. And into the offer, we want to create a solution that hopefully bridges, the gap of that pain, right? What we're going to do is actually create offer pages on startupexchange.com that will provide the solution for each of the short form copy that we're doing. That way our scouts and myself and anybody else who's doing this can actually leverage it and push traffic to those lead pages, to the pages on Startup Exchange, to the point of conversion. And we're doing that for a reason, right? Because we're trying to support our scouts. A big part of being a scout with us at Startup Exchange is you receive commission, 50% commission. Actually, it's crazy what we offer, but it's 50% commission on any conversions that you're generating. And as a scout, you have your own unique, you have a commission portal, but you also have your own unique URL tied to your commission portal. And if you send traffic or you send users that convert through your URL, they're tagged to you and tied to you forever, for life. And anytime that they invest dollars inside of the platform or the ecosystem, you get that 50% credit. So it's like such a phenomenal offer for sure to be a venture scout. It's a very powerful thing. And what we're trying to do, and a big reason why, the why behind us doing this, is to empower our venture scouts, right? To arm and enable and support and do the blocking and tackling, et cetera, to make their lives easier and be more successful, creating more opportunities with better relationships in the ecosystem. So we're going to be investing in that so that this way, each of our scouts can take that short form copy, share it, add in the comments to the landing page and drive traffic to their unique URL and potentially convert users to an offer. Now, we're not going to stop there because we're also tying this into our overarching content strategy. And I'm going to be picking it up and creating YouTube content similar to the content that I'm creating right now around whatever the highest performing offer is, right? So we're going to be paying attention to kind of you guys. We're going to be paying attention to our audience, paying attention to our investors, seeing what people are really actually interested in and where the conversions are. And then that's where I'm going to invest in more long form copy, in a sense. That's really what this is, I guess. Long form content on YouTube video that creates hopefully more value and delivers more into the offer, so that we can then put it out there and get a larger audience that's potentially interested to pay attention. And from that, what we're going to be able to do is create a lookalike audience inside of the YouTube ad manager, right? And this, I think, is where the value of this strategy is really going to come into play over time and snowball. And the fact of the matter is most of us, most investpreneurs, especially investpreneurs maybe doing B2B SaaS or some sort of consultancy offer or something of that nature, we have the ability to be doing this, and we're likely doing content and creating content anyway. So what we want to try to do is figure out how collectively for everybody in our community, all of our investpreneurs, how we can kind of maximize the value of the content that we're creating. So we're going to literally build an audience based off of the folks that are watching the videos, because what we want to do is maximize the ROI on the money that we're spending, the ad spend, right? So we don't want to target cold traffic, folks that don't know who we are, right? Because cold traffic has a lower conversion rate. What we want to do is target warm traffic, folks that know who we are, folks that are watching the videos like yourself. And we want to target the warm traffic to convert the warm traffic into those lead pages, into an offer page, right? So we want to take and build an audience off of folks that are paying attention to us, right? That know who we are, that are now warm. And we want to send that ad traffic to a conversion page. Now, the conversion pages that we're sending it to, it's not going to be the same things that we're putting out on LinkedIn, etc. These are going to be optimized conversion pages that kind of funnel and flow to our core offerings. And the core offerings are going to be tied to an ROI. It's how we make money at the end of the day. It's the money, the magic money machine, right? So that's where we want to send that warmed up traffic. That's where we want to send the qualified users, the qualified eyeballs, the qualified investpreneurs that are potentially, ready to take action for all the right reasons. And that's a big part of why we're doing this, and also why we're transparent about everything we do, because ideally you should be doing everything for the right reasons. And if you do it for the right reasons, system of reciprocity, you get more by giving than by taking. Eventually things end up working out, right? And again, this is all theory. This is all thought. We'll prove it out and we'll show the results and see how it actually works for everybody. But then we're going to send that traffic and we're going to deliver on the concept or the value, right? And that's where we're actually going to now deliver into the value. And the whole goal is to be able to create, content at scale that's valuable content, that's not just like nonsense for the sake of doing it, content for the sake of doing it, but content for all the right reasons from the start to the finish. And we're going to send it through to the process. We're going to be able to tie that into that 30-day challenge that I was talking about earlier. So any venture scout that wants to participate in this, you guys could definitely jump on in, do the blocking and tackling, and be a part of this to be able to build your book of business. And if you're not a venture scout yet, you also can become one, right? So that's the cool thing about this too, is you actually can, if you're watching this and you're not a venture scout, you could become a venture scout with us and you could participate as well, right? And we're trying to really arm and enable and empower everybody to be as successful as possible in creating as much value as possible for our investpreneurs, which is just growing our ecosystem, which ultimately success begets success, right? So it's this 30-day challenge to be able to share, create, and engage, right? So we want to share the post in the challenge. We want to be able to connect and engage with everybody who's engaging with our posts. We want to send a connection and we want to make an engagement to make sure that their delivery is there and that they're receiving the results that they're looking, the value that they're looking for, right? We want to make sure that that connection is actually made so that we can deliver on whatever offer our messaging is putting out there, right? So we want to close loops. We want to make sure that people are happy and satisfied and feeling good things about, everything that we're doing. And that's that virtuous life cycle that we're talking about. Now, in terms of getting back to these bullets, right? I jumped out of these bullets earlier. I want to circle back into them. Mention the fact that it's all starting with a LinkedIn post. We're definitely familiar with that. And why? Because it's that short form copy. It's like a quick way of doing it. It's going to lead into the lead page, which will be likely some sort of tangible deliverable. Maybe it will be a video like this. Maybe it will be a template. Maybe it will be a legal document. Maybe it will be some tool, right? So it's going to be a number of different things that we're delivering in terms of the offer pages. But then you have the YouTube video, which we'll create. For every YouTube video, there's going to be that YouTube ad that we're also running, right, from the traffic that's warmed up. And then the other two things that we want to introduce to this strategy and just start testing out, because we're also paying attention to these things, is TikTok and actually running a TikTok audience and a TikTok ad. It seems like TikTok is still a growing channel, and it seems like there's still potential arbitrage opportunities to be had there. So we want to start to test that out as well in public and have you guys experience what that's like. And the way we're going to do that is just take the same strategy and we're just going to splice it up and we're going to microize it in a sense, right? Minify it, better way of saying it maybe. And, we'll put them into smaller choice placements. And then, of course, the newsletter, which the newsletter just goes out and it's kind of broadcasting the journey. And it's, again, this whole virtuous cycle, because the newsletter is about Investpreneur and my journey as an Investpreneur, being public and building in public. Again, Investpreneurship is a less risky approach to being an entrepreneur. It's definitely something that we promote everybody to do. We think that everybody should have the option and the privilege to be able to go out and pursue the entrepreneurial dream. So what we try to promote is to do it in a less risky way, so you're not taking unnecessary risks, right? Think like an investor, kind of approach it like this investor's mind and leverage the passion of an entrepreneur. And, through that type of of approach, plus like some different like real practical and tactical strategies, you can actually do it in a very risk mitigated way. So it's what we promote. It's definitely a big part of what we promote in the community too, and we call everybody in the community investpreneurs. So we have the newsletter, and that's going to continue through the journey, of course. So that's going to just be another way to syndicate the content. And then probably the offer that we're going to drive and deliver everything into will likely be to become a venture scout, because again, we're looking for virtuous life cycles. And this whole thing in the first place came from the venture scout training, and it's designed to be able to support scouts being more successful as scouts. If we can create more scouts from the strategy, I think that that's successful onto itself. We may end up testing a couple of different primary offers as well. We may do the acquisition accelerator. I'm not sure. Uh, you know, More to come there, but I think it's going to probably become a venture scout. I just genuinely believe everybody in this game, like if you are building, buying, or selling in any way, shape, or form, you should be a venture scout. Like it's just, I mean, it's truly an investor's way of getting into this. Like you have this opportunity to earn money while you're learning, right? Earn while you learn, or learn while you earn. And it's a very virtuous cycle to be a part of, because you're not necessarily putting your capital at work. You're helping and working with others, so you're mitigating risk while still getting exposure. And I think it's just like a phenomenal position for anybody who's interested. I honestly, I kind of challenge. I think that anybody at any stage can get value from being a venture scout. And I'd like to maybe push that a little bit further and get. I think it would be interesting to see if we could get some folks that have had some pretty awesome exits to still jump on and be a scout, and see if they agree. And if it's truly the case at all aspects and all like stages of the spectrum. Now, why am I personally doing this, and what's my why behind it? We definitely promote the fact that you always should have a why. You should always have a strong why. Obviously we talk through the business whys here, and again, super transparent about everything we do and why we do it. That's just how we approach things here with Blue Collar Capital in general, with all of our assets and all of our companies, and definitely also with Startup Exchange for sure. My personal why here is I think that this would be a cool experiment, right? So I have this idea in my mind, kind of like a vision of doing. I think build in public is a cool concept and a great idea, and I have kind of like a vision of doing like a build in public challenge experiment with a roll up, and literally creating a roll up. And that's probably why the primary focus is acquisition roll ups as well, because I want to educate more folks. I don't think a lot of folks even know what a roll up is. If you do, that's awesome, fantastic. Maybe you could, definitely ping me and we can have conversations about it. But I think that, it's an awesome strategy, especially in this market, especially in this ecosystem. And I think that it would be really, really cool to do one publicly, right? I think it's still this thing that's like behind curtains and behind closed doors. And, you know, it's a little bit elusive. It's kind of like what a hedge fund was maybe 20 years ago, like, or private equity. Like, it's like people know it, but they kind of don't know it. Like there's not a lot of folks are really forthcoming with how they do it or what it looks like or the actual experience in going through it. Because I mean, also not a lot of them, statistically speaking, succeed, right? So it's a cool concept, but it's also like got some serious challenges and stuff. And for those reasons, probably people don't want to do something like build it in public. And also with a roll up, you're being pretty competitive and strategic for a number of different reasons too. So I think for a number of really, good reasons and probably the right reasons, this is like not a thing that I've been able to find. I haven't been able to find a single person who's been willing to do something like a roll up in public and actually like literally do it where everybody watching can follow along and be a part of the experience. I think it would be awesome to have a community driven roll up where it's all done in public. It's super transparent. We're actually literally building it together, running the platform, putting the platform together, doing acquisitions, like going through diligence, closing, integration, everything. And I think it would be really cool to have it in a way in which like the folks that are a part of this and following also can participate in the upside of it in some way, shape, or form. Don't know what that would look like, but I think it would be really, really cool to figure out. I think it would just be a cool experience overall and an awesome experiment. So in the back of my mind, I'm kind of like, I think that would be so cool, but I'm not really fully ready to commit to that yet. And for me, I think just doing this, and that's probably a big reason why I'm trying to step out of my comfort zone. I think there's a lot of things out there that people can experience, but you need the opportunity to do it, and you need the right types of people willing to do it and put themselves out there. And hopefully, if you can align the right reasons, then that stuff happens. I'd love to do more acquisitions in public. I would love to build more businesses in public. I would love to do like roll up strategies in public. I would love to do more of this stuff because I think it's just like, again, very virtuous. I think that for all of the right reasons, this is a way to truly empower folks for sure. And also self, right? Like being selfish in it as well, not only financially, but I'm extremely motivated in terms of learning more. I want to experience these things. I want to be able to pass this experience and knowledge on to my kids. And it's not just about the assets and the wealth accumulation and all that type of stuff. It's for the experience as well and the journey. And you got to kind of appreciate the journey. So I'd be open to doing these things. However, I don't want to do it if nobody else is interested. So in the back of my mind, the experiment is seeing if other people are interested by starting to do it, right? Everything starts somewhere. You gotta do it to kind of see. So I'm willing to kind of put myself out there, step out of the comfort zone, start doing this type of stuff. We invested into the Startup Exchange community to be able to do this and start to create these virtuous types of journeys and conversations and engagements, etc. Hopefully, to see if something can spark off and if we can be able to do these things. For me, I'm hoping, and the expected results that I would expect off of doing this would be to minimally get 1,000 new LinkedIn followers, off of the 30-day campaign, which I feel like is pretty realistic based off of the other results that I'm seeing. I mean, if you guys think differently, definitely let me know in the comments and whatnot, because I'm, actively looking to validate these things. Same with the YouTube subscribers. Like we're starting a YouTube channel from nothing, so to get to 1,000, I'd love to be able to do that. I don't know how realistic that is, but I think that should be doable. And then would love to also have, combined all of this traffic, engagement, etc., also produce another 1,000 members inside of Startup Exchange. And all of that happening in the first, in that 30-day kind of experiment parameters. If that happens, that's kind of telling me that, there's interest to this, and we'll kind of double down and we'll start to do these things. It doesn't necessarily have to be the roll up in public. I think it would be really cool, but we're open to stuff, and I'm totally open to doing things in public and creating a journey that we can all be a part of, as long as there's interest in it and there's the right, for the right reasons, and we all have our own whys, and there's a proper level of alignment. I'm more than happy to get into that vehicle and drive down that road and hopefully go on that journey together. So hopefully you enjoyed this. If you did, please, I guess if it's on YouTube, like and subscribe, as they say. That's weird to say. If it's in the community, throw a comment. If you're a scout, let me know if you want to jump into this challenge. And next thing you know, we're going to jump into it. We'll circle back, more to come, and hopefully follow up on what the results actually were. Talk to you later.